These little robots are actually charging this electric car. They remove the depleted batteries and replace them with new, fully charged ones. The whole process takes about 10 minutes. It's called battery swapping. San Francisco-based Ample is bringing the idea to the US. The company was in stealth mode for 7 years before launching recently with 5 swapping stations in the Bay Area. The concept is not new. Better Place launched an EV and battery swapping company in Israel, but the company went bankrupt in 2013 even though it had almost $1 billion in funding. And Tesla gave it a try in 2013.
It took 90 seconds for a pack swap. So hopefully this is what convinces people finally that electric cars are the future.
Battery swapping is already common in China. Electric vehicle maker NIO plans to double its network of swapping stations to 500 this year, and plans to open battery swapping stations in Norway as part of its expansion into Europe. Geely, another Chinese automaker, plans to build 200 swapping stations in China by 2023. But these swapping stations are expensive, and it's unclear whether American car owners would be willing to swap out their EV battery. But Ample has a different approach.
We've really taken the EV battery pack and broken it down into much more manageable batteries.
But why now? And can battery swapping be a good charging solution here in the US? NIO, Tesla, and Better Place all use the same technique. That is, removing the entire battery pack and swapping in a new one. The batteries are usually then charged off-site. But EV batteries are massive. And this is part of the reason why swapping stations have historically been so expensive. But Ample is trying a new technique. It is building its own batteries, designed in these Lego-like modules that charge right inside the battery swapping station. We were not allowed to film the proprietary tech inside of the charging station, but we were able to take a peek. Behind this wall, there are robots zooming around, taking fully charged battery modules off of shelves and then replacing them with depleted batteries from the car. The new batteries are then quickly but carefully screwed back into the car, and within minutes, the fully charged car drives out of the station.
The station is fully autonomous, and the payment is done through the app.
Ample's Bay Area stations cost the driver about 10 cents per mile for a swap, which is less than gas in the area, but a bit more than traditional charging. Ample battery stations are designed to be installed quickly along high-traffic routes. Former Tesla manager Lindsay Stone is in charge of deployment.
We build in our office here what we call sub-assemblies. We build chunks, take them to the site, we crate them up, ship them over, and then assemble on site. So there's no construction, there's no digging. One of the major benefits to Ample's swapping station is that it does require a lot less power than a traditional plug-in charging station.
This is because Ample slowly charges the batteries and can control when they are charging. This also helps ensure the batteries are being charged with renewable sources, not fossil fuels. Plus, an Ample station could eventually also provide power to the grid. But in order to use an Ample station for swapping, the car actually needs Ample's batteries in it. It builds custom plates for each car manufacturer it works with, and then fits the batteries into the plate. The plan is for the car buyer to choose whether they want Ample's batteries in their car or the manufacturer's battery pack, depending on their needs. The company says it has already partnered with 5 EV manufacturers, but it would not disclose which ones. But while we were filming, a Nissan Leaf pulled up to get a swap. The global electric vehicle battery swapping market was valued at $100.1 million in 2020 and is projected to reach $852.6 million by 2030. But some are skeptical this will take off in the United States. This could be why the company is initially focusing on fleets, with sights set on individually owned EVs next. Ample said it has a range of last-mile delivery, municipal fleet, and ride-sharing partners, including Uber. Uber drivers in San Francisco can rent an EV equipped with Ample's battery built in. That driver can charge using conventional methods or head to one of Ample's 5 stations in the Bay Area to recharge. President Biden said he wants to transition the entire presidential fleet to electric, which is about 645,000 vehicles. But even Ample admits that the US may be slow to adopt the technology. To move from fleets to individually owned EVs, Ample would need to get automakers and car buyers on board to replace the custom battery in their EV with an Ample system. Automakers pride themselves on their unique battery tech, so it's hard for some analysts to imagine that this will take off. While it could be good for fleets, some experts think US car buyers will just not be interested. That could be why Tesla didn't give it much of a chance back in 2013. It only opened one battery swapping station in between LA and San Francisco, and it closed shortly after. Elon Musk said Tesla owners weren't interested in it. But perhaps it would have been a different situation for Tesla in a city. But if Tesla, by far the US's largest EV company, opts not to work with Ample, that could prove challenging for the company. It's also unclear whether anyone would want to do a battery swap when traditional charging keeps getting faster and faster. Charging can take a couple of hours, but with DC fast charging, drivers can get an 80% charge in about 20 minutes. There are more than 5,000 DC fast chargers in the United States today, and President Biden plans to spend billions to build 500,000 more public chargers. Electric vehicles are expected to hit 10% of global passenger vehicle sales by 2025, rising to 58% of sales by 2040. So more charging will be needed, especially because range anxiety is still a concern for buyers. Even big oil is getting involved. NIO partnered with Chinese oil group Sinopec to build its swapping stations, and Ample has raised $68 million in funding, led by Shell Ventures and joined by Repsol and Enios. These fossil fuel-centric businesses are slowly starting to green their portfolios as governments push for an electric future.
EV infrastructure is a huge problem. I don't think we should just do one thing. The two don't need to compete. I think there will be charging stations coming up, and that's great, and there will be Ample swapping stations coming out, and that's also great. And they have kind of different applications, and people will be able to choose which one is right for them.
I do think that battery swapping will become part of the mix for the U.S. market, but mostly for commercial fleet operations, not so much for consumers.